Hi, hi and welcome. My name is Ola Litvinov and I would like you to invite to this masterclass Vagus Nerve Happy Hormones and Perfect Sleep. 3 ingredients to our well-being, to our energy and to our path to self-healing. And it is indeed so. And I would like you to listen to this masterclass and to understand how all of these 3 things interconnected with each other and how we can work with them and to achieve the true state of the positive neutrality. What it is positive neutrality after all? Let me begin with a little preach story. I like this story because this illustrates no better than anything else the condition in which we are meant to live. And condition, which is the symbol of state of homeostasis. I hope you know this word. Homeostasis is the state of being which is synonym of our health, of our well-being. So let's begin with this story. In one old village, there was an old man, and he had nothing at all except one horse. And his life was nothing special, and nobody really paid attention to him. And one day his horse ran away, and at his doorstep immediately appeared his neighbor and said something like that. Listen, old man, you had nothing in your life at all. The only thing, the only valuable asset you had, you lost it. You are a real failure. And then the old man answered him, bad? Who knows? And then 10 days passed, and this horse came back, followed by 10 white horses. And immediately, in instant, the old man became one of the most wealthiest men in the village. And then the neighbor again appeared at his doorstep and said, listen, I may have underestimated you. Who is so lucky nowadays as you? Maybe you are born under the lucky star. And the old man answered him, good or bad? Who knows? And another few months passed, and one of these horses injured a foot of his son, and his son became handicapped. And again at his doorstep appeared his neighbor and said, listen, you have never been born under any lucky star. You're a failure. Look at you. Your son will never find a wife in our village. You are a failure. And the old man answered him, good or bad? Who knows? And then another day passed, and the war was declared, and the young man was called to the war, all except the son of his old man. And again a neighbor showed up at his door and said, listen, I know I was wrong. You are the luckiest man in the world. You saved your son, and I don't know if I see mine again. And as you can imagine, the old man answered him, good or bad? Who knows? That is exactly the metaphor of positive neutrality. This is a metaphor of our state of being in which we do not react, do not defend, we do not get irritated, we do not get angry at what's happening us if it's not happening the right way. It's the alternative to feeling right or wrong, good or bad, constantly judging, constantly evaluating. And if you look around us, you will see that our current world lives in any condition, but not in positive neutrality. Look at the polarity, look at the hatred, look at the terrorism. I'm not even talking about politics generally, I'm just talking about social media. Look at the social media. There is one influencer who 50% is hating and following and telling how much they hate him or her, and the other 50% do think that they're really like good fans, No, they hate us as well, but they're hating that one, this 50%, which hate that celebrity, that hate, that polarization, reactivity, judgment, right, wrong, bad, good. It's constantly in our life, and we are not living in positive neutrality. If we are not living in positive neutrality, we are not living in the state of homeostasis. Look around us, we always have a war against pharma, or against vaccine, or against cancer, or against heart diseases, or against fast food, or against something else. We're constantly at war with ourselves. So today, in this masterclass, you will get an answer how to stop this war and how to be in peace with yourself, how to live in this positive neutrality, major part of your day. And I'm not saying sometimes that we should not stand up and raise our voices, but is it really is the whole life we are living, fighting, proving, justifying, defending, reacting, calling for righteousness? No, I don't think so. I think this is a way which leaves us to live in the chronic stress, in the chronic anxiety, and ultimately in the chronic fatigue. So, how to live in this state? How to live in this state of harmony and balance? Is it really so complicated? Is it really will take us months, years, or maybe decades to get to this state? Does it really require enlightenment to feel that way? No, because we are born like that. And if we are born like that, we can get into this being in no matter time. Okay, let's begin. Vagus nerve, happy hormones, and perfect sleep. This is 3 ideal combination to be in the state of positive neutrality. Let's begin and let's cover what we will be covering today in the masterclass. So, as I told you, my health was start reflecting the condition of the chronic stress. I got an autoimmune condition, hypothyroidism. My energy levels was start falling down. It was more than 20 years ago. I couldn't get out of bed, and if I get out of bed, I had to drink coffee. I had to at least 2 hours to do something just to feel myself again. My hair was start falling down. I was looking in the mirror, as I told you, I'm 52 now, but I was start looking in the mirror 20 years ago, and I had that dark circles under my eyes, and I was just start feeling wrinkles everywhere, and then I felt pain here or maybe here, and it was like floating throughout my body. And of course, I came to traditional medicine, and my autoimmune condition was very quickly established. I had a blood test, and they told me that I have hypothyroidism. They gave me the hormones. On these hormones, I started having heart palpitations. Then sometimes I just felt like I have a panic attack, and I realized that it is how my body reacts to these hormones. My energy levels didn't improve. Sometimes in the afternoon, I was sitting in the meeting, and I was just feeling that I'm gonna just drop here. I was just feeling like this fatigue coming on me, and I'm just falling asleep. I was keep going back to doctors. I changed doctors. I changed different therapists. They all did these exams. And they just said, what do you want? Almost 40. We're not getting younger. You have autoimmune condition. What do you expect? And at some point of time, and at that time, I was not even 40. And at some point of time, when I was going endlessly to these doctors, and my conditions didn't improve, it's just getting worse and worse. The quality of life was getting worse. As my weight was start fluctuating, and not only weight, it's just, as I told you, the skin, and also this condition. Sometimes I felt the pain in the neck, sometimes it was in the back, and stomach, I had a constantly problem with my stomach. It was like I had this irritable bowel syndrome, and I was trying to find the key, but there was no key to that. I was trying to help myself with the symptoms, but my quality of life suffered. At one point of time, when I was at the office of a doctor, and I just saw she's sitting, I think she was a neurologist and endocrinologist, and holding the hand over her heart. And she was keep writing and was not particularly interested in me, but just was filling papers. And I was telling her, listen, can you talk with me? Because none of these recommendations that now you're looking at my file, they aren't helping me. And said, we are required to do that, just a moment. And then she kept holding her hand towards her heart. And I realized she's not feeling good. And then in this moment, this realization came. What I'm doing here? These people cannot help themselves. Then since that time, I started an alternative journey because somewhere deep in me, I couldn't accept that at 40 years old, I feel completely ruined. I just had to survive. What projects, what ideas, what dreams? No, nothing. Just survive throughout the day. And I realized that I have to go other way. I started with the diet, with the food, and it did help. I started a little more balanced lifestyle, spending time outdoors, not only indoors. It helped too, but it didn't remove the situation. And then I started studying psychology. I'm a psychologist by the background. I studied medicine and the ancient traditions, and they did help too. And then I studied hypnosis, and it was a major revelation of how important our subconscious mind is for the stress management. And I respect many of these modalities, but only when I came to polyvagal theory with Stephen Porges, that was the missing piece. And once I realized what was missing, vagus nerve. Where is my vagus nerve? And my vagus nerve was dormant and probably also inflamed because I already was start feeling chronic pain in many different places, which I could not even locate where it is, because one day it could be here, one day it could be there, one day it could be there. My weight returned, my ideal weight returned. I started feeling myself. And I knew that it's not yet my autoimmune condition has gone, but inside me, I felt I'm on a path of self-healing. It's like I switched to another mode, and inside of me, I will start feeling more in balance every day. I cannot say that I immediately achieved that positive neutrality, but I was start feeling more and more in this state. Good or bad? Who knows? Let's see. Maybe this way. Are you saying this way? Okay, let's just look. Maybe that is the best way. And the more I start feeling in that condition, the more I felt more myself. And even more, I often felt that I have never felt like that. Because always I thought about myself as the person who is having very little patience. I had to manage that. Person who get easily irritated, because I was quite emotional. I thought also about myself as a very sensitive person who trying to protect yourself. And I was not. It was my vagus nerve. Okay. Let's begin. To begin with, I wanted to mention the quote which I also like, Benjamin Franklin, one of the founders of the United States of America. Early to bed, early to rise makes man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And he's not far from truth. So, where we begin? Let's begin with the sleep, because sleep does not cost us anything and we can do it right away. And it's not so complicated as we've been told to believe. Okay, I know you will say, okay, melatonin helps, or maybe some other sleeping supplements. Let me tell you this: if we do not restore our natural ability for sleep, we will not achieve the state of homeostasis. We do not achieve the state of health. Because this is like crunchers, working on the crunchers. Over time, melatonin will be less and less produced in our bodies. And when we try to manipulate our biochemistry, it doesn't work on a sustainable basis. And as you may notice, like almost any supplement, almost any food, almost any cosmetical product, if you start taking it, maybe at the beginning it works, and then it stops working. Why? Because there is a root cause for why we are not functioning to our optimal potential. And if we do not address the root cause, we will always be handicapped. And what will always happen, that just in a matter of time, this perfect supplement, perfect vitamin or melatonin, by the way, melatonin is not a vitamin, it's a hormone, as you may know. And as a hormone, we have to be careful with applying the hormones which we are not producing ourselves. That is not to say that for a very short period of time, we may not take advantage. But if your sleep depends on melatonin for months, for years, and for decades, I'm quite sure that you're not feeling at your best. And today, we're gonna learn how to feel at your best. So, why do we sleep 1/3 of our lives? What's the purpose? What is the reason? Do we really need to sleep 1/3 of our lives in order to restore our physical abilities? And the answer is no, we don't need that much time. So what's happening in the sleep? I must say we still do not know precisely, but we have already quite a lot of science, quite a lot of studies around the sleep and why do we sleep. Let's begin with another story, because sometimes it always helps. Do you know how many important discoveries, that receive Nobel Prizes came during sleep? Google that. There is many. I will not speak about all of them, but just let's mention one of that, because there is this vagus nerve involved too. Otto Levy, the famous scientist who discovered how neurons communicate with each other. For 20 years, he couldn't figure out how to prove his hypothesis. And his hypothesis was that they communicate with each other with this certain chemical reaction. And one day he wake up and he had a complete picture of what to do. And then he started writing and forgot. The next evening he went to bed with a clear intention to have complete understanding of that. And in the middle of the night, or maybe I think it was early in the morning, he wake up, he didn't record anything, he rushed to his laboratory and he performed that experiment and he proved his theory. And it was involving the vagus nerve. Not only him, the famous table of chemical elements by Russian scientist Mendeleev came to him during sleep. The Elias Hope, who created the Zinger sewing machine, I think you will know Zinger machine. My grandma used to have it, and it was amazing because even after 100 years from its production, it was still continue to work. The model of atom, and many others. So you will Google that and you will see how many discoveries, how many revelations came to people during sleep. So what is happening in our sleep? And not only if you look at the novel, we will say, some of them will say, listen, I'm not into this, so I'm not planning to discover anything of particular importance. I just want to feel good. Let me ask you this. If the discoveries and revelation of the Nobel Prize level came to people during sleep, does it mean that all of us can answer our own deep desires and questions? Do you think? We do. We can. We are born with this inherited capability to ask a question and to get the answer from inside. Now, compare that with the constant personal transformational courses and to get aha moment. And this is what we can do in sleep. And if you look at now at the successful entrepreneurs, just as a sample, just be interested, be curious. When they are asked what determined their success, one of the three things they say, they prioritize sleep. Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Nikola Tesla. He's not current, but he's one of the most influential scientists of our centuries, and to whom we constantly return because he was the author of many interesting ideas that still need to be developed. All of them prioritize sleep. Just now, from now on, look at the people that you like, you influenced by, and just see it as a role model and see how they relate to the sleep. So, why sleep is so vital? During the sleep, we produce growth hormone, 75% of the growth hormone. And this hormone, which is responsible for restoration of our cells, of our tissues, it reduces the process of aging. And finally, it helps us to metabolize fat. So if we want to lose our weight, if we want to manage that, we need to sleep, because this is major part of that happening during sleep time. During sleep time, we produce feeling good hormones. So if we don't sleep, we are not able to produce the sufficient level of serotonin, dopamine, and other feeling good hormones. Restoration of the kidney, adrenaline function. As you know, adrenals are the ones who are producing adrenaline and cortisol, and if they are not restored, they will keep running, and this is where we can run under adrenaline fatigue. Liver detoxification, that it happens during sleep time. If you wake up from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning, it is a time when liver has to work. It means that liver cannot do the job. It means that liver gets overwhelmed and get more and more sluggish. And finally, it's during sleep where our insulin levels can be balanced. And it's not only affecting our weight, it's also affecting our mood. So there is, on top of that, we have the possibility to access our intuition, to ask the questions, to respond to our deepest desire. We don't need guru, we don't need therapists, we don't need advisors. We can have that inside us. And maybe during your life you have experienced a moment where sometimes you are having one question or problem or something, and you just keep going back to that, and suddenly you have like a aha moment. It's like comes as an implicit knowledge. And this is where our intuition comes. But we can have it as a quite regular part of our life. So, by now, I think you shall be persuaded that sleep is important, and sleep as a natural cycle, not when we depend on the supplements. Out of these three things, vagus nerve, happy hormones, and perfect sleep, the quickest thing we can address is the sleep, and it costs us nothing. So why this is so difficult to sleep? Why, particularly now in endemic time, the sleep condition even worse and more? And why we are being told there are a lot of advices of how to sleep well, and they do not help us. Let's begin with that. What are the traditional advices we are hearing how to start sleeping? Do you hear about that we need an interrupted 8 hours sleep? I'm sure you do. And let's discuss today why it is not helping us. Maybe you're hearing that we should not eat 3 hours before we go to bed. Maybe you're hearing that we should sleep in the very dark premises, that the temperature should be quite low. That is the traditional advices. What I would like to say, many of these things are good, but they're not principle. Okay, if you can not eat 3 hours before the meal, it's good. Can you? For example, I can't, and it doesn't change anything. Furthermore, if you can sleep in the cold room, it's good, but it doesn't really affect it principally. 8 hours and 8 hours of interrupted sleep. If you can sleep, okay, but do you have to? It's actually a myth, because the way how we sleep traditionally, historically, how our body is designed, does not imply sleeping 8 hours uninterrupted. It's a very, very recent phenomenon. But what is the most important requirement of the perfect sleep? And oftentimes we do not hear. And today, during our class, I will not only reveal for you what is this most important requirement, but also give you a very practical recommendations on what to do. So, why 8 hours uninterrupted sleep is a myth? Now we know that it's from the early 90s years when the Thomas Ware was start making his first experiments and placing people in a dark room for a long time, and then very shortly they start sleeping in 2 shifts. So they wake up, they sleep 4 hours, they wake up, and then they fall asleep again. And then after him, Roger Ekirch, and he studied the sleep, and he wrote a monograph, A Day Close, and where he studied a lot of historical evidence across the globe, across the nations, across the times, the centuries. And he came to a conclusion, which can hardly be debated by anyone, that we were not designed to sleep 8 hours uninterrupted. Even reverse, it was dangerous, or it was not convenient because there was no electricity at that time. So when the sun gets down, we normally, okay, there was candles, but it was not particularly convenient. So we went to bed, and then we wake up after 4 hours, and it was considered to be one of the most healthy time used for prayers, used for kind of time to reflect on yourself, and then people fall asleep until the sunrise. And it's only in the middle of 19th century where our sleep was start kind of getting disconnected with the sun circles. We start going to bed late and late and sleeping till the morning. And so it's a very recent phenomenon. And oftentimes when I tell this to clients, the clients say, oh my God, it's a relief, because I thought there is something problem with me. I can tell you, sometimes I sleep all the night. Sometimes I don't. It doesn't change anything. The next morning, I wake up and I feel the energy. I don't need a coffee or something else. I can start my day. I wake up without alarm because I already had my schedule. I go to bed quite early, and sometimes I can sleep until 6. This is my normal getting up time. Sometimes I wake up and then I just stay in that alpha and meditative state for half an hour, for 40 minutes, and I reflect. Sometimes I even, without Wi-Fi, switch in music and listen to this music, and this is a nice feeling of being, and it doesn't affect anything. We don't need 8 hours uninterrupted sleep, but we need a quality sleep, and we shall not ignore the sun circles. So, 5 main reasons why we do not sleep. First, our culture, and that means often we do not cherish the sleep. Second, disruption of the circadian rhythm. As we talked, the 8 hours uninterrupted sleep is a fairly recent phenomenon. It's a phenomenon which came into our life when electricity came into our life, and where we will start slowly separating the sunset and time to go to bed. And once this separation becomes more and more distant, then we can disrupt our circadian rhythms to such an extent that we just are not able to fall asleep. Main physiological causes. In addition to that, reasons, there might be main physiological causes of why we cannot stay asleep. For example, sluggish liver, or sugar disbalance, or hormonal disbalance. That is the reasons which over the time, and maybe they actually were triggered by our lack of sleep, that they start being one of the reasons why we cannot stay asleep. Number 4, and this is important because this is exactly the main characteristic of perfect sleep: nose breathing, nasal breathing. Why this is so important? Just imagine how you feel, how you breathe when you are in a stress. Probably shallow and probably not through the nose. Mouth breathing is the signal for our nervous system that we are in this stress condition. And it means that if we are breathing through the mouth during night or during these periods of sleep, we do not restore ourselves. We need a nasal breathing during the sleep. And if you remember, if you look at the small babies, if you look at them, sometimes we're getting worried. It's like, oh my God, I don't hear. Is she breathing? Or is he breathing? Or he's not. Because we come to this world with the perfect skill of sleep and perfect skill of breathing. We have this invisible breathing, deep, invisible, but we tend to lose that. And if you know yourself, if you know that you're snoring, or if you wake up with a dry mouth, and that is time to address it. And finally, His Majesty stress. That is by far the most important reason why we do not sleep. And this is where vagus nerve plays a critical role. Let's talk about these reasons. I hate the word to sleep. This is how we oftentimes relate to the sleep. Look at our social culture. Everything good happening during night hours. Okay, now it's a little bit different, but this situation didn't help our sleep, the pandemic situation. But before that, if you look around, we tend to stay late. Everything is happening late. We go for dinner late, events happening late. We do not cherish sleep. How often times we hear, oh, okay, you just slept, you overslept everything. How often we hear, you will have time to sleep and pension, or you will not remember the moments of how you slept during your life. You will remember the life going on. So this is our relation to sleep. If we do not cherish sleep, we will not sleep perfectly. How to do that? Here we can obviously help with the meditation and specific meditations. Look for them. Search for the options of which fits you and follow that. Disruption of circadian rhythm. That is another reason why we may not fall asleep. In 2017, the Nobel Prize was given to the discovery of how important circadian rhythm in our health. What was discovered that no matter what we do, no matter how we live, our body tries, turns, craves to follow the circadian rhythms. That means when the sun goes up, when the sun goes down, the seasonal changes too. So our body will adapt to that. And if we don't respect this, if we try to enforce on the body our own rhythm, we are creating another physiological stress. Here on this slide, I will give you some time that your eyes get used to, and you will see. And this is the symptoms of the three main physiological reasons why we do not sleep. And if you try to see if there is any of that is present in your condition, that is an indication to address this. Unstable blood sugar. If you fall asleep and wake up in 1 or 2 hours and feeling like you're ready to clean the kitchen, most likely your blood sugar is unstable. So that needs to be addressed. Sluggish liver and gallbladder. If you wake up between 1 and 3 in the morning and you feel a little grumpy and heavy, that's the time when the liver has to work. Most likely it's just overloaded, overwhelmed, and the liver needs help. Hormones. If you have dry skin, if your hair is falling down, if you have the fluctuation of the weight that you cannot explain, if you have the hot flashes, most likely there is the element of the hormone balance which needs to be helped as well. Mouth breathing. Mouth breathing is important. And today I want you to give you a solution, and it's very simple. So, what you will do, how to start breathing through the nose. In the evening, you take a tape and then you take a medical tape with a microfiber and you put it on the mouth and you go to bed. And you will see, if you can sleep with that, that means that maybe you just need to use to. If you cannot sleep, because some clients say, I cannot even imagine, I feel phobia to sleep with the tape of my mouth, then don't force yourself. And let's talk about 5 final reasons. His Majesty's stress. Then it means that your stress conditions is so high that we cannot go to that without addressing the stress levels first. And the stress levels is where the vagus nerve comes in. On this diagram, you will see where there is this vagus nerve, because oftentimes clients say where it is. Like you can see here, it's a short description of where it is, and it is the green color on this slide, and you will see when the vagus nerve is connected with all our senses. And this is a state which we would call mobilization without fear. Isn't it nice to live in this state? Mobilization without fear. Then the second state of our nervous system is mobilization with the fear. You know that as a stress response is our sympathetic nervous system. And the third state, which nobody has talked about before Stephen Porges, is the state mobilization with fear. This is a state where dorsal ending of the vagus nerve get active. Stephen Porges showed up, that's why his theory is called the polyvagal theory, that the vagus nerve is not only one nerve that goes through body, that it has two separate endings, two separate divisions, which has a very different function in our life. And they cross each other somewhere around our digestion system. And they cause completely different effects. When dorsal nerve is activated, this is where we feel shut down, where we feel chronic fatigue, where we start feeling depression. So for us to be in homeostasis state, we need to live in the state of mobilization without fear. And this is exactly the state where vagus nerve is active. Stephen Porges also told us that these states, these three states, exist in hierarchy. So we cannot live in all three of them at the same time. We live one or another. And if we cannot handle the situation in our basic state, mobilization without fear, we shift into stress condition and into condition of flight, fight or flee, and then if we cannot manage the situation in that condition, we moved into mobilization with fear. So, stress. Why we all get stuck in the chronic stress? Because according to the traditional theory, our nervous system is an autonomous nervous system. So what it means, it kind of doesn't depend on us. So if there is a stress, we are in stress. If the stress gone, that we should be okay. And we are not okay. And as you remember what Hans Selye said, not diseases kill you, stress does. So why we get stuck with the chronic state condition? And Stephen Porges also answered this question. We get stuck because of the nociception. Nociception is a mechanism which governs our vagus nerve and which exists in our subconscious mind. And that mechanism, it's the subconscious, the feelings, sensations, patterns, that is where our, let's say, governing mechanism exists. And if we do not feel safe inside us, whenever it happens, we may get stuck with that subconscious patterns, which we're not even aware of. But what is interesting, by stimulating vagus nerve, we can bring to surface many of these patterns, many of that limitations for our well-being. And Stephen Porges also answered us that our nervous system, evolutionary, was designed to address one-off stress situations. Somebody attack us, and then we need to either to fight or to run away. But our nervous system was not designed for anticipatory stress, like something we expect to happen to future, and we're constantly ruminating about that. And chemically, we're recreating this stress, this balance in our bodies. But what is interesting? Interesting is that we are able to tackle that from different angles. We can activate the vagus nerve. We can help it from the physiological level, and that will help us to resolve that situation. How we can do it? With the vagus nerve, the best way is to act systematically and affect all our senses. All our senses, meaning our smell, our touch, eyesight, our hearing, and breathing. And if we can combine all of that, we can have the profound effect of our vagus nerve. Okay, now I think you're ready to experience how to achieve this condition, at least for, like, let's say, to experience that feeling. And I'm happy to give you today. And if you follow this recommendation, tonight you will be sleeping perfectly. Maybe it may take you a little bit of preparation time. It's okay, you've been waiting for that long enough. Let's begin. And now we are going to talk about practical, effective techniques and tools which will put you in the perfect sleep and which will boost the tone of the vagus nerve, and you will feel good. And please share with me how did it work for you. So tonight you will be sleeping tight. Our preparation for the sleep starts with the morning. I know some of you will say, listen, if I don't sleep good, it's a problem for me to get up in the morning. But maybe it doesn't matter. Can you select a day where you can wake up together with the sunrise? Or better, 5-10 minutes before that and watch the sunrise. If you live in the area where there is a sun and you can see that, it's even better. The opening of the sky, the brightening of the sky is a signal to our hypothalamus to start the cascade production of the hormones. So, first thing, try to wake up and watch the sunrise when the sun rays are still mild and when they're yellow and red and golden. Watch that. I can tell you from my personal experience and from experience of the others too. When we watch the sunrise, that absolutely become the boost to production of our hormones. For example, we reduce melatonin and we increase cortisol to the level we need. I oftentimes experience when I'm able to do that. Sometimes I'm not. There is no reason to be perfect, but I try to do most of the time to experience that. I always feel more content during the day, more balanced, more stable, more grounded. So try that. I know some may say, listen, if I don't sleep at night, how can I wake up in a sunrise? But then it doesn't matter. Try to force you and to see it, how that affects you in the day. Then, after that, drinking a lot of water, a lot of liquid. That is surprisingly, hydration helps our circle of sleep and helps our hormones as well. Also, grounding. Maybe you know about that. That putting the bare foot on the ground, that tremendously helps us to balance our circadian rhythm. There are even instances when people say when they need to travel across the globe and they start ruining their circadian rhythm, grounding is one of the ways to help it. Then, good breakfast. Let's don't skip breakfast. I know many will say, I just take a coffee and I just go, I'm not hungry. But try to see what happens with your rhythm, with your circadian rhythms, with your feeling inside, if you have a good breakfast. Different choices is up to you here, but just a good breakfast where you can sit and relax and eat it allow it yourself. Then, good lunch. Let's try not to skip lunch. One of the reasons why we have that disbalances with our blood sugar, with our hormone disbalance, is we're skipping lunch, and then our brain becomes so hungry and undernourished that it's causing us to grab the sweets, to gross up the coffee. We're feeling this fatigue, we're trying to cope up with that, and then we cannot fall asleep. That is very, very simple thing, but it's a good thing to start with. But of course, that is not it. Now get ready for the juicy stuff. Aroma oils, essential oils, great help in this. Maybe you're already using them. If not, I strongly encourage you to start opening yourself to this world of aroma oils. They are incredible. They're incredible medicine. 75% of ailments we can improve with different essential oils. And of course, we can improve our sleep. I will name you the few oils you can do. Chamomile, Roman chamomile, frankincense, lavender, angelica, valeriana oil as well. The magnolia oils, they are the oils which are known for helping us with the sleep. Follow the measure of precautions. You know that aromatic oils we have to blend with the carrier oil, but you can use your oils in the kitchen, such as olive oil or coconut oil. Very much I like fractionate coconut oil because it's dry, it doesn't leave this oily feeling. Just blend it with the carrier oil, approximately 6 to 8 drops of one oil or combination of the oils in the 1 tablespoon of the carrier oil, and apply it across your lobe, behind your ears, behind your neck, on the hands. Smell it. One of the oils I particularly like, and that is ylang ylang. Use it, try it. It's an incredible oil. It also helps us to balance, to ground us, but without sedating us. I also, when I blend the ylang ylang, I put it around my heart. It's a perfect to balance heart. It's actually, if you have a high blood pressure, notice many of my clients say it works wonders. I apply it here and immediately I feel lighter, I feel still energetic, but we do need energy to fall asleep. We don't need to be very, very tired. Or you can use a combination of ylang ylang, lavender, the Roman chamomile, but ylang ylang is one of my favorite because it's also help us with the stress, help us with feeling overwhelmed, because oftentimes when what happens in stress, it's the disconnection between our heart and brain. Our brain is working hard, is trying to resolve, ruminating, and our heart is feeling resistance. And ylang ylang is perfect for that, but not all. There is another oil, copaiba. It's a perfect oil. There is a lot of discussions about CBD oil, but copaiba has even the highest component of what we are looking in CBD oil. So copaiba, you can use just 1 drop under the tongue, or the better way, you put it in a capsule. In the gelatin capsule, you put 1 or 2 drops and add on olive oil. Use the capsule 00, the longer one. They will take longer in your body to dissolve and give a better result. And then also you can make a hand massage with the black spruce oil. This black spruce is the excellent oil. It's uplifting and grounding at the same time. And sometimes I also add mandarin and just a little 1 drops of each oil, and you put in the teaspoon of the carrier oil, and then you make a hand massage. And when you massage the hand, you massage all the hand and each of the finger too. So if you have all of that 3 together, that will give you that feeling of calm, that will give you this feeling of grounding, and you may be ready to go to bed. But that is not it. I would like you to try ice socks. You say, ice socks? How it is? Yes, ice socks. So you put the socks into the water, into the freeze. They should not be frozen, but they should be so cold that you can barely touch them. Then you warm up your foot. You put these cotton socks, icy socks, on your very, very warm foot, and then cover that with the another socks. And you're ready to go to bed. And that is not it. In order to enjoy the perfect sleep, in order to achieve the lymph drainage and proper circulation of our spine fluid, which is the main fluid which clean our head, which detoxify our brain, I would encourage you to find a way. I know there is a way, but you can use something else in your house, just to put something behind the head of your bed. Then you're sleeping not just the pillow, but the head, that you are sleeping in the inclined condition. And that will give you the perfect lymph circulation, and it will allow you to deepen your sleep. So, you heard the practical recommendations. The recommendations that allows us to go into sleep. And of course, don't forget about breathing. Let me tell you a very simple breathing technique which you can do before you go to bed, or maybe even during the course of the day, even when you're sitting in the traffic jam or you have a little moment for yourself. So you put hands under your, under or on your ribs, and you will do the following breathing. You may do it 10 times. You see, it's kind of restricted breathing in and restricted breathing out. And then the second 10 times, you will do just by normally breathe in, but when you breathe out, you do it in a very, very rapid way. When you breathe out in this way, you push up your diaphragm, and diaphragm push the lower parts of our lungs, and this is where nitric oxide is there, and it boosts the production of the nitric oxide, and we will feel more lighter, more relaxed, more grounded. So combine it with the breathing. You have now the plenty of techniques and rituals to do throughout the day, and see how you will be sleeping, and generally see how you feel after applying copaiba and hand massage with black spruce oil, and how about when you apply ylang ylang around your heart area. And of course, if you had a long time insomnia for very, very long time, we can talk about supplements, but only as the bridge. In this case, you can add on to the 50 milligrams, maybe a little more, of the orange juice or grapefruit juice is the better. If you have fresh, even better. And if you take a small dose, 50 milligrams of 5-HTP, and then in 20 minutes you get ready to bed. Try to use. And on this note, I would like to conclude our masterclass. Try all of that practical recommendations. Follow them one to one. Try as many of them as possible, because we are very individual, and for some works some of the techniques, for the other work the other. Try eye soaks, try to raise the head, try aroma oils, try breathing, try to follow that simple circadian rhythm, and share with me not only how you felt when you fall asleep, but also how you felt after aroma oils. Did you feel more grounded? Did you feel relaxed? Did you finally feel sleep? You can feel like that all the day. Are you interested to hear about more solutions on how to activate vagus nerves, how to raise happy hormones, and how to achieve a perfect sleep? Register for our next masterclass, Vagus Nerve, Happy Hormones, and Perfect Sleep. And see you soon.